This is the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans, with Josh Taylor, Justin Smead, and Jason Eidsmoe. We're talking Padres, Chargers, and Aztec sports.
Got to hit it to the right place. And he hits it out to center. Right center. Blackman's got a long way to go. He's still going.
Off the wall.
And it is off the wall. It takes a funny hop. Kemp is rounding second. He's heading to third. And Matt Kemp into third base with a triple and the first cycle in the history of the San Diego Padres.
He will hand it off. Tomlinson plows his way towards the goal line. LaDainian Tomlinson, one step closer to football immortality. Tomlinson has tied the single-season record. And the handoff to Tomlinson. Left side, and he will gallop into the end zone. Charger fans are witnesses to history.
Pope thought about it. Now steps up. And the freshman hits the jumper at the buzzer.
Well, this kid is some prospect. Big time length, big time game.
Pope straight away three. Count it. Malik Pope. Pope off glass and good. On the other end, Joel doesn't miss that one. Shepard alley-oop to Pope. He got up there. Oh, wow.
It's time to let your voice be heard.
It's a special place to play. You know, the tradition, the history.
The atmosphere and the history there. And for all the facts, we're playing a heck of a team.
Hell yeah, I'm excited. I mean, that's a legendary field right there. I mean, I even got my family traveling out there.
Be aggressive and make plays.
Some of the throws that he puts in there are just unbelievable.
Welcome to the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans.
By the fans.
And welcome to the Chargers pregame show. We're playing the Green Bay Packers out in Lambeau this week. It's going to be an epic, offensive battle. I think, you got two of the more elite quarterbacks in the league, and Phillip Rivers and Aaron Rodgers going at it. I think the biggest question today, Jason, is whose defense steps up and makes the most plays?
Yeah, we were talking pregame, of course, is one of the things that is going to be a key is the front seven for the Chargers defense, helping out the back end. Now, one of the good news is when you read over the injury report for this week, the secondary is not on the injury report anymore.
That's a great thing.
We don't have we don't have any of our cornerbacks. We don't have Jason Verrett with his foot, and Jaleel Adai with his ankle, and Brandon Flowers with his knee. None of them were on the injury report, and so that means none of them had to get treatment for these injuries, and that's good because we're going to need a full crew back there.
Absolutely. I think Aaron Rodgers is one of the, if not the best quarterback in the NFL. And I hate to say that because I love Phillip Rivers, but in all reality, Aaron Rodgers is on another level. And I think what separates him is his mobility. Aaron Rodgers creates plays with his legs. He gets out of the pocket. He lets his receivers, get a couple extra seconds to roam around the field and get open, and he finds them. And, not a knock on Phillip Rivers by any means. Phillip Rivers is a great quarterback. I think Aaron Rodgers, with his mobility, just puts him a notch above.
Yeah. By the way, Raider Hater Hal, big participant in our last show, so we want to thank him once again for that in the chat room. And he appreciates the new intro. For those of you who hadn't heard, we do have a new intro that Josh put together, so I think he did a fantastic job with that.
Thank you, Hal.
One of the things that we have over what we had last year is we do have better cornerback play. I know that a lot of people are all over Brandon Flowers right now, but our cornerbacks are better. I think that they can hold that coverage for a little bit longer. Now, if Aaron Rodgers steps up and gets 3, 4, 5 extra seconds, nobody can hold coverage for that long. But I think we do have a little bit better coverage than we had in the past. We have better pass rush. I know that some of the games it seems like they disappear, but Ingram has been healthy all year long, and he's been, I don't know if he's had a fantastic year, but he's had a solid year. Let's call it a solid year. And Kyle Emanuel at the beginning of the year was making some things happen. Maybe this is the game that Kyle Emanuel steps up and makes something happen.
As far as our secondary, obviously you got Jason Verrett, the second-year rookie, who has been playing arguably the best cornerback that we have. I mean, the guy's been shutting down some of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I mean, he basically limited Calvin Johnson to 2 receptions. He did an exceptional job against Cincinnati. And then you got Brandon Flowers, who's a veteran, somebody that makes plays, and Patrick Robinson that came over this year, who's made some plays. He's intercepted a couple balls. He's made some great defensive efforts. The one thing that I do want to see them step up, I mean, they've done great in coverage and limiting receptions, but they've had some opportunities to intercept the ball, and they haven't come through. And I think we need to see a couple of those today.
I think that's the real key, and we talked about it last Wednesday on the show, is they're getting themselves into position to make plays, and then they're not making the plays. And, if they want to, turn the corner and show that they are a team that's worthy of going to the playoffs, those are the type of things that they need to make. And I'll tell you what, nobody's given us a chance to win in Green Bay. Green Bay is a tough team to play against.
Yes.
Green Bay is a tough town to play in. I'm not going to sit here, of course, and guarantee victory, but this is the type of game that can turn your season around,
Absolutely.
We're 2-3. I mean, all is not lost anyways, but this is the type of game that you can look back on and you can say, man, we went into Green Bay, and that's where things really, really got rolling. This isn't a real opportunity. Now, if they go in there and lose, is the season over? No, it's not. I don't think that the season's over if they go in there and lose. But with the way Denver's playing, I don't know how Denver's undefeated, but Denver is undefeated right now. With the way they're playing, it just makes, as we've talked about over the last 3 or 4 years, it puts us in quite a hole.
Yeah, I think this is I'm not going to use the word must win, but I think this is a game that we definitely have to win. Gets us back to 3-3. Then we're at home against the Raiders. We're at the Baltimore Ravens, which is a tough challenge, but a winnable game. And then we're at home against the Bears. 3 games there that we can win. Another Monday night matchup against the Chicago Bears. So I think if we win this game, even if we don't, we can win the next 3 and come out of the bye week with a winning record. So either way, I think we need to have a good showing today against the Packers. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have Jake Hefner from ProFootballSpot.com to give us his take on Chargers football.
Help with your business project that is due? Maybe you need business cards to help your business stand out. We at San Diego Sports Junkies got you covered. SK Digital Imaging can do it all. Give our buddy Sean Kay a call, 858-408-0732. SK Digital Imaging, from business cards to the bigger projects, SK Digital Imaging and our buddy Sean Kay will get your printing done right.
All right, guys, we are back, and we are better than ever. We have Mr. Jake Hefner from ProFootballSpot.com to give us his take on the Chargers on offense. Jake, welcome to the show.
Good morning, guys. How we doing? Happy Sunday to you.
Dude, we're excited. I'm amped up. This is a big matchup there in Green Bay. We're playing arguably one of the best teams in the NFL. and they moved the time back to 1:25, which is nice, so we don't have to worry about that right now, and obviously you're getting a round of golf in. But we have a chance to show some people that we're not done yet.
Yeah, we absolutely do. It's, going up to Green Bay, obviously our toughest matchup of the year, in a hostile environment where Green Bay usually just never loses, especially with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. And like we had mentioned briefly on Wednesday, my expectations going to this game, do I expect the Chargers to win? No, I do not. But wouldn't it be the quintessential Chargers moment for them to rebound after a heartbreaking loss to Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football, to go across into, pretty much forbidden territory as far as winners go in opposing teams, and somehow get out of Green Bay with a victory today would just be spectacular. But there's going to have to be a lot of things that the Chargers do right in execution, of course, virtually close to having a perfect game in order for them to get a win today.
Jake, one of the things that was brought up on the show last week after you had gotten off was the way the Chargers are built this year. They built the team to have a really good offense and for an offense to go in and win the games for us. And the defense is just supposed to go out there and kind of do their job, but the defense isn't out there to win games. And a lot of people this year have been complaining about the defense, but I kind of agree with them. I think that if we're going to go and we're going to win this game, we're going to have to do it with our offense. And if we're going to do it with our offense, we're going to have to do it with, we know that they're very depleted, but we're going to have an offensive line that really steps up. First of all, do you agree with that? And what are the chances of our offensive line, having a really solid game today?
Absolutely. I mean, this has to be an offensive game for the Chargers. If you know anything about the Green Bay defense, it may not look that way, on paper, but they have the best opposition rank as opposed of going up against quarterbacks in terms of the lowest quarterback ranking that they have for their defense. So quarterbacks so far this year have not had a good quarterback rating against going up against that defense. So the offense definitely has to be on point today. And, especially, we sound like Groundhog's Day here with talking about all the injuries throughout the offensive line and, everybody has to do their job in terms of people and other individuals having to step up throughout this game. But yeah, it really is going to have to hinge upon the offensive line and getting a nice balance of the offense going. And of course, ultimately, if you can do that, then it's the best way to beat Green Bay by keeping Aaron Rodgers off the field. So really, the best offense is a good defense in this case.
Now, when we're on offense, one of the things defensively for Green Bay, B.J. Raji, he showed up on the injury report this week. I guess we haven't just heard whether or not if he's going to be playing for sure or not, but with him being injured or him being out, will that affect our offensive play, specifically our run game?
It would definitely be an upgrade specifically for pretty much both the running game and the passing attack, because B.J. Raji has kind of been having a resurgent year. If he, for some reason, does not play in today's game today, but that should definitely give a plus sign for Melvin Gordon in terms of getting push along the middle part of that offensive line, because any time that the Chargers' protection breaks down, specifically in the middle, is where Phillip Rivers is going to be in trouble. He can anticipate, the edge rush. He can do all that, but when he has pressure coming up the middle, it is very difficult for him to, get in a rhythm, and then the offense is going to have to change to counteract all that pressure coming at him. So if for some reason B.J. Raji can't play today, it'll actually be a pretty significant blow to that Green Bay defense. It should be a nice upgrade for them to get the running game going today.
Another thing is Clay Matthews. I know he's a outside linebacker, makes all these big sacks and everything, but they've been playing him a little bit more inside. With him on the inside, what kind of effect do you? Because we, as the Chargers, have never played against them. When Clay Matthews kind of moved on to the inside, do you think that will have that will affect our running game also? And do you think that makes him, maybe he plays more of an all around linebacker, but maybe he doesn't make as many big, giant, spectacular plays. What are your thoughts on him at playing in the middle?
He's always the one guy that you have to keep an eye out for on the defense. And, depending on where the Green Bay decides to use him, whether it's inside or outside, Phillip Rivers is probably always going to be looking at him first to see where he's at. And it's going to be difficult because we know how he can set the edge when he comes off. to rush the quarterback. But now you see him in this type of versatility in the inside linebacker spot. He can bring that pressure up the middle if he needs to. So don't be surprised if they happen to use him a little bit more today, especially if B.J. Raji isn't able to go, so they can create some of that pressure and get Phillip Rivers off the snide.
Go ahead.
Jake, as far as the offense is concerned, Melvin Gordon needs to have a big game. We talked about it in our Wednesday show. We need to get back to, running the ball effectively, and I think by running the ball effectively, it will help Phillip Rivers and the passing attack. What do you see out of Melvin Gordon today against this Green Bay front seven?
It's definitely going to be a difficult task. Their running game their running defense is not the best that's out there. But here's really the issue: is that if you can't get Melvin Gordon going, and I mean early, and you allow Green Bay to march down the field on you within 2 or 3 possessions and put 14 to 17 points up on the board, the Chargers are going to have a difficult decision to make because they really need balance on offense in order to keep Aaron Rodgers off the field and ultimately to win this game. So you need to get Melvin Gordon going early. We had talked about it on Wednesday as far as we've seen him progressively each week getting more and more touches in the offense as this season has progressed, and you've seen a little bit less of Danny Woodhead than you may have realized. But you need to get some balance not only with your running game, but with the running backs that you have in the backfield as well, as far as finding the right scenario in which to use them. So I don't see the biggest game for Melvin Gordon. I'd be pleasantly surprised. I think it's required. But, I'd like to see him finally break the 100-yard mark and have one of those type of games. I don't see that happening today just because I think that the Chargers are really going to have to rely a lot on Phillip Rivers today in order to come away with a win.
Jake, I think with Melvin Gordon, I think we need a little more misdirection. I think we need to get him out on the edge where he's in open space and can make some moves there. A lot of times running through the tackles, he's had some trouble, and maybe that's because he doesn't have quite a lead blocker. The offensive line's not opening up holes from him. But I've noticed he's been a lot more successful, like we saw against Cincinnati, for instance, getting out on the edge, able to make defensive players miss and gaining those 10 to 15-yard gains.
Yeah, his anticipation and his learning curve is definitely coming along. You've seen a bunch of runs from him where it looks like he stutter steps at the line of scrimmage and tries to find an alternate route to go when he should just keep moving forward when it comes to those inside runs. But you're right. When it comes to, setting the edge and getting on the outside, he is great at creating breakaway speed. There's not a lot of people that once he gets going can run him down. You're going to have to rely on a safety or a cornerback to ultimately tackle him once he gets to that second level. So depending on how the Chargers want to attack them, depending on what they see as vulnerable as the game progresses, hopefully Melvin Gordon's going to see it and he's going to be able to execute properly instead of hesitating, which he has done so far in the past 5 weeks. And hopefully he'll just be more confident in himself as far as running the ball goes and just seeing the one gap and shooting the hole.
One other thing about the offensive line, British Bolts in the chat room brought this up. Our offensive line hasn't played great. We know that. Lots of injuries, lots of reasons. We have lots of excuses for that. But not only are they getting beat, but they're also committing a lot of penalties. Has that been a point of emphasis for the Chargers to maybe try and clean that up a little bit? I know all teams emphasize that, but have they made an extra effort to maybe improve and maybe cut down on the penalties and cut down on the 2nd and 20 or 1st and 20s?
Well, you saw it from the Cincinnati to Minnesota games that there were a lot of penalties throughout that 2-week span. In the last 2 weeks, it hasn't been that bad. Unfortunately, when the penalties have arisen, it's been at the worst opportune moment that you can imagine. So I think the emphasis is still there for them to reduce these type of mistakes. And especially just when you have new personnel going on, especially along the offensive line. Because if the Chargers get into a rhythm early and they're in 2nd and short situations or 3rd and short situations and you commit a false start or holding or anything like that, that is just absolutely decimating to the rhythm of an offense. So you can't go out and make those type of mistakes out there today. And it's going to be loud. It's going to be loud. So you're going to have to cut down on those false starts. You're going to have to really be disciplined in your snap count and listen to your quarterback and cut down on those mistakes if you really, really want to make some type of progression in this offense.
Now, we know that they have a good we talked about B.J. Raji and Clay Matthews, and of course they have Julius Peppers. But the secondary for Green Bay, should we be concerned about them, or is this, if Rivers has the time, is this the type of secondary that maybe he could take a little bit of advantage of?
Well, this is really going to all come down to the offensive line. The pass rush, as far as the Green Bay Packers go, as far as I know, that they are pretty high up there in the sack total. So the secondary actually kind of relies on their pass rush in order for them to be a better secondary in terms of, not giving the quarterback enough time, quickly getting the ball out maybe when they shouldn't and taking advantage of that. So if for some reason that the Chargers offensive line can give Phillip Rivers the protection that he needs and gives him the extra time that he needs in order to find his receivers once they start to break away from their defensive backs, this is a secondary that can be exposed from time to time. But again, everything is going to start and stop with the offensive line with the Chargers today. So everybody is, as far as, looking for people to perform. Obviously, it's going to, like Mike McCoy says, it takes all 11 guys out there. But in reality, the way that this offense is going to roll is all bearing on the 5 guys in the line of scrimmage.
Now, we got Antonio Gates back, which was huge. He had a really big game, and having him and Green out there at the same time, I think is good for our offense. But Stevie Johnson's probably going to miss another game here. How much is that going to affect our offense? How much does that hurt our offensive productivity without Stevie Johnson out there?
I don't think it's going to hurt it as bad, especially when you have Antonio Gates return the way he did last week. I think Keenan Allen kind of took that role that Stevie Johnson was playing a little bit with the catches that he was making, and the routes that he was specifically running last week. I think you're going to see something similar to that. And of course, if need be, you have Ladarius Green, who can play like a wide receiver. Hopefully, the Chargers can get him and Gates in more two tight end sets today. And ultimately, if you need a long, deep threat, you have Malcolm Floyd that can go down the field. So I don't think that while Stevie Johnson's what we've seen from his play so far this year has been nothing short of spectacular in terms of the camaraderie he's built with Phillip Rivers already in this short time. And definitely think about what it's going to be like when he ultimately returns to this offense. But I don't think that his impact will be as big of one as one might think, because him and Keenan Allen definitely could run pretty much the same routes in terms of where their position was. So I think Keenan Allen will definitely take over the role for him. You're going to see a lot of Antonio Gates targets today, mark my words, and hopefully, we'll be able to escape this and get away with maybe the shocker of the week. Who knows? But it's wishful thinking, of course. But we'll see what happens. But I don't think Stevie Johnson being out of the lineup is too much of a huge blow to this offense.
Jake, I know our time is limited with you. Do you have any final thoughts on the Chargers today against Green Bay? And we're going to need a prediction out of you as well as a player of the game.
Pretty much, from my standpoint, what I love to see the Chargers win today, absolutely 100%, no doubt about it. I think just from the circumstances, if this Chargers team was at full health, I would definitely consider it a different story. Because I think that they are going to play tough today. I think they are going to rebound. I actually think it's not going to be as big a blowout as some might think. I see Green Bay actually winning by 2 touchdowns today, unfortunately. But you're definitely going to see a Chargers team that's going to be playing tough. They're not going to lay down in the dirt for anybody. And at some point or another, they're going to keep this game close. But eventually, Green Bay is going to break away. Again, on a neutral field and better health conditions, I would see the Chargers coming away with a W here. But today, just under those circumstances, especially the way that Green Bay played last week against St. Louis, they're going to be up to making sure that they execute that much better. So it's definitely going to be a rough one today. And we had already talked about on Wednesday how we were already setting the expectations for a 2-4 record and how we need to move on from there. Once we get past today. So ultimately, I would love to see the Chargers come away with a W today, but I just don't see it happening.
What do you got for a score and player of the game from the Chargers, even though you are unfortunately thinking that they might lose this game? I'm
going to say Green Bay's going to take this one 35-20. And as far as the player of the game goes for the Chargers today, I ultimately think it be Philip Rivers, because I think he's going to distribute the ball around a lot today. I don't think it's going to be, you could see an easy repeat of the Antonio Gates show that we saw on Monday night. But ultimately, this whole win is really going to fall on Philip Rivers' shoulders. And I'm sorry, either the win or the loss is going to fall on Philip Rivers' shoulders today. So ultimately, I think he's going to end up being the player of the game.
All right, Jake. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to call in on your busy Sunday morning. Enjoy the rest of your day, and go Bolts.
Go Bolts. See you guys later.
All right, buddy. Wednesday, take care. So that was Jake Hefner from ProFootballSpot.com giving his take on Chargers on the offensive side. Obviously, it's going to be a tough task, Jason. We have a lot to hope for, as some people were alluding in the chat room and Jake alluded to as well. Penalties and turnovers are going to be a key. I think we need to limit the penalties on offense, especially, and we need to win the turnover battle if we're going to have any success here in Green Bay today.
I don't want to say that we want to put the reins on Philip Rivers, because he's the type of guy that can go out and absolutely win the game for us. But if you look at like the Steelers game, there's no way the Steelers win if that pick six doesn't happen.
Right.
And we talked about that last week. And you could put the blame on anybody, but ultimately, if we didn't take that chance, that wouldn't have happened. So I'm wondering if maybe the key to this game is maybe a little bit more conservative offensively, a little bit more ball control, try and hold on to the ball, keep Aaron Rodgers off the field, and then when Aaron Rodgers is on the field, have our defense as fresh as possible, because if our front seven if they can just step up their game, the back end, I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about if you can get a little bit of pressure on him, make him throw the ball, not let him go through his third, fourth, or fifth receiver. I think our secondary is good. I really do. Brandon Flowers, everybody's all over him. You can't have a Pro Bowler at every single position. Somebody's going to have to give up some catches. But I really think that I really think that our offense has to play a little bit more conservative and not turn the ball over so much. The turnovers have absolutely killed us this year.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the secondary as well. I think we're very talented back there, but it is going to be vital that our front seven, especially our outside linebackers, get some pressure on
Aaron Rodgers.
And we'll
get to get into that more next segment, too, because we're going to talk about the defense after we come back from the break.
Right, but it's just because of the fact that, look at what Michael Vick did. There was a particular play where, we ultimately had them locked down. Michael Vick scrambles off to the left and then throws a, 70-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
And you think Michael Vick makes that play. Aaron Rodgers can make that play every time.
Yes, yeah. Definitely, and in order to help out our defense, I think our offense needs to protect the ball a little bit better. I think we need to get more yards on first down, because we've really liked what we've seen from Melvin Gordon, but it seems that on first down he's getting stuffed a lot. Not his fault. I'm not saying that it's because of him, but he goes back there and you see him just battling and grinding and getting 1 or 2 yards on first down. That's not going to be good enough today. That's just not going to be good enough today.
Yeah, I think we need to have an up-tempo offense. I think we need to be, quick in our progressions. Philip Rivers has got to get the ball out of his hands quickly. And we need to play ball security. I think, similar to what we did against Seattle early last year.
Yes.
I think we need to have those, 14, 15, 16-play drives, methodical drives, taking a lot of time off the clock, keeping Aaron Rodgers on the sidelines, but also wearing down their defense.
Something else that was brought up in the chat room last week that we didn't really discuss, it seemed like they were not able to stop the 6 to 8 yard pass to Gates over the middle. And I don't mind being boring and throwing that on every other down. If they're going to give it to us, we'll take it, And those are the type of things that they're going to have to be forced to stop. And when we force them to stop that, that'll open things up for Melvin Gordon. So I think involving Gates and involving Green a lot more on those, we don't need to hit him in stride, and let him try and run 20 yards afterwards. I don't mind him going out for 7 or 8 yards, turning around, grabbing the ball, and falling down, to be honest with you.
Right.
That doesn't bother me at all. And I think maybe they need to do some more of that.
in the chat room. We got, Bolt Nation worldwide. We got British Bolts joining us for the first time in the chat room. Thank you, by the way, for listening. He says Danny Woodhead is going to have to be a target on third downs. Maybe the O should change the play up rather than be predictable. And I agree. The predictability is that draw play. I think a lot of times when Danny Woodhead is set up aside Phillip Rivers in the shotgun formation, you can almost be certain that it's going to be a draw play. And I think they need to be a little less predictable and maybe play fake that and turn it into something else. We're going to take a quick break, guys. We come back, we're going to talk about the Chargers on defense. Aaron Rodgers has a big arm. They have a lot of weapons on the offensive side of the ball. What do the Chargers need to do to stop this vaunted offense?
What's next? Super Bowl rings. San Diego Chargers. Full pride. We love our Chargers. Now you tell me who comes harder. AFC West. Don't even bother. Thinking you the best. Charger Nation. We run the West. Yeah, we run the West. Let me break it down. AFC West.
Cali Comfort Barbecue in Spring Valley was built for West Coast Sunday morning football and fight night. Cali Comfort Barbecue has quickly become San Diego's slow smoke barbecue sports entertainment destination. Full service catering available for all your tailgating needs. CaliComfortSD.com.
Now you understand the Chargers is our team. San Diego Chargers. Can you tell me who comes harder? Our city, our team. Oh, pride. We love our team. San Diego Chargers. Can you tell me who comes harder? Our city, our team. What's next? Super Bowl.
I'm going to have to steal some lyrics from our boy Seasickness there. Listen to his new track. Thank you for that, by the way. The Chargers defense needs to charge harder. That front seven needs to be a beast today. Melvin Ingram, Atauchu on the ends, they need to be huge. They had some pretty good plays last week against Pittsburgh, some pretty good sacks that which was surprising. Michael Vick's a mobile quarterback. I didn't think we would have as much success getting to him, but we did. And I think they need to continue that trend today and even take it up a notch because, like I said, we alluded to earlier in the show, our secondary, if you let Aaron Rodgers, get outside and scramble around and allow to chase those wide receivers for 8 to 10 seconds, our secondary will have some challenges as good as they are.
Well, the key to me today, I think, is Corey Liuget and Kendall Reyes. I think Liget's been playing good. He seems to be the only guy out there really that, and he hasn't made a lot of, dynamic plays. However, anytime you ever see the play blowing up in the backfield, it's because 94 is back there blowing things up. Kendall Reyes, I've seen a little glimmer of hope from him this year, to be honest with you. He was a second-round draft pick, I think, a few years ago. We expected him to have come along a little bit faster, and last year, I think, was a complete throwaway season for him. This year, you've seen him out there. You've seen him making a few more plays, getting a little bit better penetration, but this needs to be his breakout game this year. We need to see both of those guys on that line just wreaking havoc in that backfield.
I totally agree. I think Kendall Reyes and Corey Liuget are huge. Sean Lissamore also in the middle needs to be big today. Ricardo Matthews, somebody who made a huge play against Pittsburgh last week, breaking through the pocket and getting a sack on Michael Vick. Ricardo Matthews needs to be huge today as well when he fills in for Corey Liuget or Kendall Reyes on the ends. Because I believe Philon is done, right?
Philon's done for 8 games. They had to put him on the injured reserve designated to return. He had the hip injury, and he'd been like a roller coaster this year. We see some good plays, and then we see him disappear. But he was like a 5th round or 6th round, rookie. We weren't expecting him to come over and take over.
Right.
But I think him being out will hurt a little bit.
So I think you're going to see a lot of Ricardo Matthews today. He's going to be filling in both defensive end spots. So look for him to be, epic today. obviously Manti Te'o, I guess, is battling a little injuries, and that's kind of rough because Manti Te'o has led our team in tackles, just about every game. And some people are, beating on him early in the year, but Manti Te'o is truly the heart of this defense. You want to say it's Eric Weddle or Donald Butler, but Manti Te'o has been the leader. He's been the play caller. He's been in, it seems, about every play, whether he's getting a tackle assist or he's making the tackle or, he's getting a big block to open up for somebody else to make the tackle. I mean, it's been a lot of plays this year, and we need him out there today if we're going to be successful.
A couple other guys, Donald Butler, who in the preseason we saw the Donald Butler of old. A little bit this year we've seen the Donald Butler of old, but also we've seen the Donald Butler that disappears a little bit. And, people can get upset with him for giving up that long pass to that running back a few weeks ago. Totally not his fault. I think anybody who is mad at Donald Butler, I think that's a little bit ridiculous. He got a guy that was faster on him that ran by him. What's he going to do? That's getting them in the, that's a case of the defense being in the wrong position and the defensive coach putting men in the wrong spot. But ultimately, we need to see some bigger plays from Donald Butler.
Yep.
I need to see him come out, and I need to see him give me a turnover. I need to see him, give me a big sack. I need to see him make a big stop on third down. You don't need to keep the guy from catching the ball. You just need to keep the guy from getting past the yard, the first down marker on third down. Let him get 8 yards on 3rd and 10.
We need that Donald Butler who basically took over the game in Cincinnati in the playoffs in 2013. We need that Donald Butler today. Somebody who can make some plays, somebody who's going to pick off the ball in a crucial situation. The turnover battle is going to be huge today, guys.
Yeah.
We need to win the turnover battle. Our defense needs to be huge today. Our offense needs to secure the ball, but our defense needs to be able to get Aaron Rodgers and this vaunted offense off of the field.
One other guy I wanted to talk about while we're on the defense, Denzel Perryman. We've been doing this show for, we've been doing the show for 3 years now, but all year long, whenever we do our show, the chat room just completely blows up about Denzel Perryman all through the preseason. That's what everybody wanted us to ask Jake about,
right.
Denzel Perryman. And now, everybody's saying, why isn't Denzel Perryman in there? Why isn't Denzel Perryman in there? Well, with Manti Te'o nursing an ankle, and it seems like Denzel Perryman has been worked in a little bit more anyways, people might get their wish this week.
Right.
We might get an opportunity to see Denzel Perryman, and boy, would it be nice for him to come out and have a game like Kyle Emanuel had week 1. Just come out and just seem like he was in on every single play. Maybe this is time. Maybe it's time for Denzel Perryman to finally show what all the hype is.
And I'm excited because, coming into the draft and after we drafted him, there was a lot of hype around Denzel Perryman. This guy made some huge, huge tackles, some slobber knocking, you knock your helmet off, break your neck type tackles in the collegiate level, and people are waiting for that, with these Chargers, and he's finally going to get his opportunity today. We're going to see a lot more Denzel Perryman today, and I hope he is big for us. Yeah. I hope he is what everybody thinks he is. As far as the Twitter sphere and social media, I hope Denzel Perryman comes out today, makes a huge play, maybe forces a turnover, but ultimately, just makes some big plays, keeping the running game, quiet.
Now, with all this stuff that we talked about and all these people that we mentioned need to have big games, and everybody is worried about, Aaron Rodgers, of course, and everybody's worried about Randall Cobb, who's a stud, and everybody's worried about James Jones, who's had a resurgence in his career, and Devontae Adams. You know who I'm really worried about? Eddie Lacy.
I can agree with you with the Eddie Lacy, but if you've been paying attention recently, he's actually struggled a little bit this year running the ball. He hasn't been the same guy. Maybe I'm paying a little more attention to it because I have him on my fantasy team. And as everybody knows that listens to our Wednesday show, I haven't done very well in our San Diego Sports Junkies League. But Eddie Lacy is definitely epic, Jason. He's definitely a game changer. But he has struggled a little bit, and we need to continue those struggles. Our defense needs to collapse the pocket. They need to hit him behind the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
Not only hit him behind the line of scrimmage, but they need to tackle him behind the line of scrimmage.
Yes, that's been a big thing this year. Is our run defense has been poor. We see that, but like we keep talking about, when they do finally get themselves in a position to make a play, they're not doing it. When they do finally get the guy stopped in the back, for some reason he's able to make a move and get 2 or 3 yards. We need to stop that. We need to get them on 3rd and longs. We need to get them on 2nd and longs. You know? And the thing that worries me is Eddie Lacy seems to be the type of running back that has success with us. Kind of a big guy, kind of a bruiser, the type of guy that just seems like every time you hand him the ball, he's going to fall forward for 5 or 6 yards. We cannot let that happen today.
Right.
They got to stop him at the line. They got to stop him for 1 or 2 yards.
Well, the Chargers have to pick their poison, similar to what they did last week. Is it going to be Eddie Lacy that's going to get a bulk of the yardage for the Green Bay Packers, or is it going to be their vaunted passing attack? Looks like we got a call coming in for our buddy SoCal Trav. What's up, Trav?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Trav, you there?
Yeah, hello.
Oh, there, it's up there.
Hello?
Looks like we got
hold on, wait. Trav, you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
We got you, buddy.
What's happening, guys?
Not much, man. So what's on your mind? We got a big matchup against the Chargers here in Green Bay. What are their keys to victory today?
Well, I hate to tell you guys, I'm a diehard Charger fan, and this week I've actually picked the Packers to beat us.
Well, yeah, you're one of many.
Yeah.
But I want to play devil's advocate with you, and let's say the Chargers do some good things today, and we can eke out a victory. What are those things going to have to be?
Well, the thing is that they need to make tackles on defense. They cannot allow the long ball to take place. Flowers needs to play tighter on the corner, and we need to get that pass rush down so we can get in there and get Aaron Rodgers on the ground. And then our offensive line on the offensive side needs to protect Phillip Rivers. I mean, we've been injured on that line for how many years now?
Yeah.
They need to stay solid. They got to find a way to hold that Packer defense from getting through the line. And of course, that Packer defense is really tough. Their linebackers are solid, and they have to find a way to stop them so it can open up some time for Phil to make some passes down the field, or open up some holes for Woody or Melvin Gordon to break it loose and take it down the field as well on the ground.
Do you think with Manti kind of struggling a little bit with the ankle injury, and Perriman seems like he's been doing enough to maybe earn a little bit more time each week, do you think that this is the week that Perriman actually gets some solid playing time and has a chance to show us some of the things he can do?
I think it is the time. If Teo's hurt, he hasn't been playing that great at all, and throw in a guy that can play. I mean, give this guy a shot. I mean, if you're going to do it, this would be the week to do it.
Well, I disagree with you about the Teo thing. I actually think he's been playing well, but I also do think that Perriman has earned a little bit more time. I think Butler needs to step up a little bit more, but I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more. I'm not ready for Perriman to take over either one of these starting spots, and I'm not ready for Perriman to get more than half of the playing time, but I am ready to see a little bit more out of him on specific downs, specifically running downs, seeing if he can get in there and turn these 6-yard gains into 0-yard gains or into 1-yard gains.
I agree. I mean, I think they should let him try. Put him in there, see what he can do, see what he's capable of. They know the talent that he's got, because if he wasn't that good, they wouldn't have drafted the guy. So they know what he's all about. I've seen him play when he was at the U. The guy can play, but obviously that's on a different level. That was college, but he's still got power. He's still got the speed, and he knows how to wrap people up and actually tackle. He doesn't miss tackles. He actually, when he can, I mean, he's good. I mean, he only missed a couple the other week when he was in, but I don't blame the whole thing on him. It's just the whole defense has to work as a unit to make things happen. And like you said, Butler needs to step up. Everybody has to step up on defense and make stops, and putting him in there, I think it'll be a good thing for him to get in there and play some more downs.
Well, like always, I know that you're afraid that the Chargers might lose, but go ahead and give us your prediction of what the final score will be, and then who you think the Chargers player of the game will be.
After I give you my prediction, I'm going to wash my mouth out with soup. I'm going to go. Everybody's going to kill me because they know I'm a big, huge fan, but Packers 34, Chargers 17. I think it's going to be a blowout because I don't think our defense is going to be there against the Packer offense. And our player of the game, well, I'm gonna go with Phillip Rivers. I mean, he seems to be the only guy making things happen right now. So I'm gonna take Phillip Rivers, and I know he's gonna do some good things. But yeah, 34-17 Packers. It's gonna be a pretty big blowout today. I'm sorry to say it, and now I gotta go wash my mouth out with soap.
Well, Jake, I can't wait till Wednesday so we can hear you eat crow. When the Chargers pull out this victory today.
Which I'm sure you'd like to do anyways.
I do. Trust me, I want to eat the crow, so maybe me picking the Packers will get the Chargers to win.
Yes. Well, this Charger team, it seems like every time they count it out is when they come up with the biggest, victory or vice versa. Every time that everybody's got the Chargers blowing a team out, they end up shit in the bed for lack of terms and losing against a team that they should absolutely wallop. So, let's hope for the latter. Let's hope that the Chargers come out today and surprise everybody.
I hope so too, man. I'm playing devil's advocate and hoping that I pick the Packers and they actually turn around and beat them. I mean, trust me, I want the Chargers to win more than anything, guys, but for the sake of betting and, odds and all that, I'm going to go with Packers, but hopefully it flips it the opposite way and it's the Chargers that win the day because, as always, it's about the Bolts. So.
Absolutely.
Right on, Jake. Well, we thank you for calling in, man. We're going to take another break, and then it's time to give us our predictions and wrap this baby up.
Hey, I love being known as Jake. That's cool, man. Thanks.
Trav.
Nice. Anything else, Trav, before we let you go?
This is Jake from ProFootballSpot.com. How you doing?
Nice. Anything else before we let you go? Oh, I guess not.
All right, guys, we're going to take another quick break. We come back. We're going to wrap this thing up. We're going to give us our predictions and our players of the game. So hang tight with us as we go to break here. Should be back in just a minute.
Cali Comfort Barbecue in Spring Valley was built for West Coast Sunday morning football and fight night. Cali Comfort Barbecue has quickly become San Diego's slow smoke barbecue sports entertainment destination. Full service catering available for all your tailgating needs. CaliComfortSD.com.
Don't betray your roots. East, west, north, south, they gon' know your roots. Fly your flag through the city cause we calling all crews.
All right, guys, we are back, and it's time to wrap this bad boy up. It's prediction time. We have our phone lines open, 619-866-4567. If you want to call in really quick and give us your prediction, we'll have to get you in and out, or you can shout it out on the chat room here, and we'll shout it out for you. But it's prediction time, Jason. Again, we have a very tough matchup here in Green Bay. A team that's 5-0, a team that really doesn't lose at home. So it seems like there is a lot going against these San Diego Chargers today. The Chargers themselves have been playing kind of poor. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries. They've gotten a lot of key penalties that have shut down some drives, and they haven't been really winning the turnover battle. A lot of things need to change this week for the Chargers to pull out the victory. I mean, we need to limit those penalties. We need to shut down this vaunted Green Bay offense, and we need to win the turnover battle.
I completely agree with you. I think the turnovers have been a real key for games that we haven't won, and when we have won, it's been in spite of the turnovers, to be honest with you.
We got our a couple predictions really quick in our chat room. British Bolts chiming in. Bolts win 20-17.
Nice.
Sloppy here, a local follower, Bolts lose 30-17. We got Josh Hill in the chat room. He's got 21-17 San Diego. He says, on top for no other reason than we should not win this game, or it could be 42-14 Green Bay very easily.
Well, you know how I am, and although I don't think that the Chargers I don't realistically believe the Chargers can go 16-0. I never can predict that they're going to lose, because every game I look at, I see that we have a chance to win. This is the game that the Chargers win and turn around, and this is the game where we go, man, remember that game against Green Bay? That's where everything started to come together. We had all those question marks and all those injuries, and the guys came together, and they came out and they won the game 27-26, and Keenan Allen was the player of the game. That is what we're going to be talking about when we refer to the game against Green Bay. What do you got, Josh?
Well, I'm drinking your Kool-Aid, Jason. I've taken the glass and I've drinking the Kool-Aid, and I think the Chargers, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think there's a lot of weapons on both sides of this roster. As far as Green Bay and San Diego, there's a lot of offensive weapons. I think it's going to be very high-scoring. I'm going 30-27 Chargers. Mr. Josh Lambo is going to kick the game-winning field goal in Lambeau and pull out this victory for the Chargers. I think we're going to surprise a lot of people. We're going to get a couple key turnovers. I see somebody like a Jason Verrett getting a pick that turns the ball over and puts the Chargers in the situation to win today. Ultimately, my player of the game, I'm going to have to follow Jake, and I'm going to have to go with Phillip Rivers. I think Phillip Rivers is going to have to be huge today. I think we're going to see a lot of Gates. We're going to see a lot of Keenan Allen, but Phillip Rivers is going to be huge today.
Hal wants to know if you're drinking the Kool-Aid or you're smoking the pot.
No, that would be Jason. Jason is smoking the pot.
First of all, Jason, for the record, Jason does not smoke the pot. And the fact that he calls it the pot should tell everybody that he doesn't have anything to do with it. I got something really interesting. Somebody that we talked about a lot because we were disappointed. Somebody that we have not mentioned one time today, and that's Jacoby Jones. What if this is the game that Jacoby Jones takes one to the house? What if this is the game where he has a couple 30, 40-yard returns, and then he takes one to the house at a moment where we absolutely need a score? Maybe this is the game that we all say, that is why they signed Jacoby Jones right there.
I hope you're right, Jason, because he's been kind of lackluster since we've got him here. He's been battling injuries. When he has been in there, he hasn't been very epic. So if he's gonna make a play, please let it be today.
Yeah. So to kind of wrap up everything and to kind of recount what we've said, I think that the key to today, really, if you want to just put it in one word, I think it's going to be penalties. I really think it's going to be penalties. I know we've mentioned that a lot, but we can talk about the play of the offensive line. We've talked about a lot of different things, but I think ultimately, and we've talked about turnovers too, but I think that if our offensive line, and especially on the offensive side of the ball, if we can keep from making penalties and we can keep it in short down and distance situations, we won't have to take those big chances to turn the ball over. We'll just keep grinding it out and grinding down the field, but our offensive line, not only do they have to play better, but they have to play smarter, and they need to stop making these stupid penalties that are just completely crushing us.
Yeah, I think penalties, we sound like a broken record, but penalties and turnovers are going to be the key to this game. The Chargers on offense, they need to limit the penalties. They need to limit those holding penalties. We've had quite a few big plays that have been brought back because of a holding penalty or a hand to the face. The offensive line, you've struggled, and we understand that, but you need to struggle less when it comes to the penalties. If you're going to struggle, you're going to struggle with letting somebody by and making a big play on Phillip Rivers. God forbid he doesn't get hurt, but we need to limit the penalties because Phillip Rivers has been known to stay in there, take the hit, and make the big play. As far as turnovers, Phillip Rivers last week, he whether it's a miscommunication between him and Malcolm Floyd, but there was a big turnover that turned into a pick six. If we're going to turn the ball over, we can't turn it into points for the defense of Green Bay. We need to win the turnover battle today. We need to be flawless on offense, and our defense needs to pick up the offense and get the ball turned back over to the offense so they can keep the pressure on Green Bay's defense.
Yeah, maybe have a couple bounces go our way too, I mean, I'm sure every single team in the league feels like none of the bounces go their way, and we're the same way. It feels like nothing ends up going right for us.
Right.
Let's have a couple bounces go our way. Let's have a couple, maybe tip balls that go right to our players, or maybe, a bad snap on the other team that bounces right to our guy, or a bad snap on our team that Rivers just bounces right back into his hands and he turns it into a big play. Something like that. Some really oddball, weird thing that happens that you go, man, how did that happen? And have that stuff go our way. I think we need that.
I think what we also need is Melvin Gordon needs to finally get in the end zone. We've been talking about it for weeks and weeks and weeks. Melvin Gordon needs to see pay dirt. We need to get him in the end zone. We need him to taste that victory and give him some confidence moving forward. Guys, we're going to wrap this bad boy up. This is the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans.
By the fans.
Brought to you by Cali Comfort and SK Digital Imaging. We want to thank Jake Hefner from ProFootballSpot.com for calling into the show and giving us his take. Cal Trav, British Bolts, Charger Nation worldwide. Hal, Josh Hill, Sloppy in the chat room. We thank you all. This is the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans, by the fans. And go Bolts.
Go Bolts. Big victory.
Thank you for listening to the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans. Brought to you by Cali Comfort, home of the low and slow barbecue, and SK Digital Imaging with Josh Taylor, Justin Smead, Jason Eidsmoe, and Mike Maciejewski. Subscribe to us on iHeartRadio, on Spreaker, and on iTunes. Visit SanDiegoSportsJunkies.com for all your Chargers, Padres, and Aztecs news.